Hello, thanks for joining us on Home Bake today. Today we just want to discuss briefly a little more deep, a little deep dive into the mukbang community and see, how it works, observations from what I've seen so far from it, and what I can take out of it. Now we do know, tracing back its roots, that it started off I believe, in South Korea, and it was a sort of romantic friendship tool that was used to help people who were somewhat in a lonely position, and they had people to eat with them over video, because they didn't want to be alone. And I think that's where the root came out of. But along the way, over the years, it has mutated to what we have today, where people are eating ginormous amounts of food before the video and feeding up people's fetishes for this genre. Now we do know it's been going on for years, and again, like I said, it started off as a little romantic friendship tool in dating in South Korea, and this was supposed to help loneliness. But again, the community took it a little step further and created it to cater to people's fetishes, and basically people who'd love to see people just pig out in front of the video and eat on unwanted amounts of food in front of the video. It's basically that's what it comprises of mukbang. Now, from what I've observed briefly from this community, is that there are certain traits and specifications which the people, the consumers of this fetish is what they want. And I think I could be wrong, but this is just from looking from outside looking in to look at what exactly how it entails. Now, for one, I do know that yes, people do like to see people eat tons and massive amounts of food over the video. People like totally pigging out to it and enormous amounts of food. But what I noticed was that they had a specific look, a specific type that majority of the consumers who got their dopamine levels from this wanted from that. And I'm going to start off by saying, from doing a little bit of deep diving research, I found that the biggest influencers and creators in the mukbang community are predominantly Asian ladies, and more importantly, slim Asian ladies. Now, it's just the fact that it's the total ironic sin that you have a slim lady, pretty much like maybe 40 pounds or less possibly, and you see a massive amounts of food, chugging out a massive amounts of food. But guess what? This is actually those that have the largest following, the largest views, and largest likes, believe it or not. And this is not, yes, it is at the current standards that they have the biggest draw. So we can deduce that people in mukbang, at least the general criteria is they prefer somebody who's slim, extremely slim, preferably of Asian ethnicity, and enough amounts of food, but not gain a single weight. And that is where I see that the problem in the mukbang community is. And this is in regards to health and also the cost benefits of if you partake in this. Now, the truth about it is that maybe people might not want to come out and say it is, but while again looking at the views and also looking at the audience, I can see that for those who are actually, should I say, more on the heavier side, reflecting in real time, in real physical sense, the amount of food they consume, they do not have the biggest draws in this community. They do not have as much views as you have the slim, tiny lady, Asian lady who happens to gorge down enormous amounts of food. But they reflect the true size of somebody who is eating this much, but they don't get those views. And the question for me is that, is it actually worth it for you at the end of the day that, you're trying to break through in this genre, but from statistics and from the way, from general data that those driving the growth, you do not fit the criteria for the audience. That you might break into it, but you might not get to be a breakout person in the community. And I look at it this way, that if your body is not genetically, fashioned to be able to withstand this kind of gorging or eating, you might not enjoy the benefits of partaking in this community, in this genre. It's not gonna pay you at the end of the day, whether it be in views, whether in social media popularity, whether generating income. It's not there. And also, what I have seen from deep diving in and research, that we do not find a lot of companies partaking in the mukbang community. When I mean food producers, food related businesses, restaurants and co. A lot do not partake in the mukbang community, and I believe one of the reasons is why is that a business who deals in food, the first and foremost thing is they want to portray themselves as healthy options. They might be selling straight up burgers and cheese and deep fried, but they do not want to be perceived as a health risk. And if you're gorging down burgers and fries and massive loads and making all sorts of weird combinations, I don't think any business, whether food, restaurant, grocery store, or food producers, would want to partake in that, because it's not the best publicity. That's not the best marketing tool for them. Now, it will help them if you show, you bought this items from their restaurant. Oh yeah, absolutely. Eat it all like you pay for it, But at the same time, you're eating it. You're not telling your audience that it's bad for them. Oh no, you're stuffing yourself full for it. So they're getting free publicity, but they're not they're not lining your pockets, with ad income. So the first thing you're gonna ask yourself is that you do not have that sponsorship. And then when it comes to subscribers, you do not have those direct members who are gonna pay you if you do not fit the criteria for what is expected of the genre. So at the end of the day, is there a payoff? The one thing about social media is that when something is trending and a lot of people see this, people tend to want to follow this trend, or they want to jump on this trend, obviously, to generate income, which is okay. It's an opportunity. But then the question is, have you read this opportunity to see whether in the long run it will pay you? Personally, you look at yourself, look at what your stacks are, look at whether do you fit the profile, do you fit what's going to be, have you done your research into it? So I believe, like I said, the community, it caters for those who enjoy, this fetish of eating and consuming. But these people, the consumers of this mukbang, the dopamine hunters for these fetishes, they do not want to see a regular heavy person, an obese person. No, they want to see a 40-pound or less lady consuming enormous amounts of food and not getting fat. They want to see that. But if you do not fit that criteria, I'm looking at, based on the data, you're probably not going to generate that kind of income or generate the revenue stream that they would get. I would say also, based on that fact, I don't think it's best to put your health at risk for that. But this is just an opinion, a frank talk. Just an open talk from this channel. That's how we do it. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments and see what it is. Again, like I said, it's every man for himself. You can actually do what you want, but at the same time, I say, look at the facts, look at the data, and look at in the long run. Will it help you? Will it jumping on this trend, jumping on this genre? Will it benefit you? Do you see who are benefited from it? And see what it actually is good for you at the end of the day. With that, I want to thank you for joining us today. For those American audience, have a happy Independence Day weekend for the rest of the world. Thank you for joining us. Leave a comment. Please subscribe and hit that like button, give us a like, and look out for future videos. Thank you, and have a good day. Bye bye.